this is actually a take two, because as I got into the first video, what happened was my computer decided to have a conniption fit. And you may hear the trumpet in the background as my son practices his trumpet. Not a big deal. Practice 9.4 is what we talked about this morning. Half of it deals with function rules, where they give you the equation and you have to plug it in through the power of substitution, this mystical power, where you take a value of a number, plug it into the variable spot, and then compute it. So half of the page, like the first 9 questions, are like that. So number 1, off the first top section, says y equals 2x. So if the value of y equaled 2, you'd plug 2 times 2 in, all right, and you could get 4. If the value of y equaled 1, you could plug 2 times 1 in, and you would get 2. All right, so see how I go 2, 4, 6, 8? This basically means this. On the top of the page, they say, hey, if x equaled 1, 2, 3, or 4, what would the value of y be? So I write down the equation they gave me, which is y equals 2x. Then I plug 1 into the x spot, and that would be like 2 times 1, which would give me y equals 2. I plug 2 into the x spot, which would be like 2 times 2, gives me y equals 4. Then 3 into the x spot, okay, 2 times 3 would give me y equals 6. And then 4 into the x spot, 2 times 4, and give me y equals 8. This is how you would solve through substitution numbers 1 through 9. Now let's say you looked at number 1, found it, okay, Mr. Bowman, super simple, I got it, no problem. But let's say you've had a little difficulty and you're looking at a two-step equation. Let's jump to number 3 instead. That says y equals, okay, again, always y equals. And it says y equals x squared minus 1. Whoa, room get kind of dark from the sunlight outside, disappearing on me. All right, so again, the same principle holds true. They want to know if x equals 1, what's the answer going to be? If x equals 2, what is the answer going to be? 3 and 4. You should get the pattern by now. Okay, so I literally plugged 1 into the x spot. I'll rewrite it for you. 1 squared minus 1. Newsflash. The exponent of 2 means the base number, that's this one down here, the base and then the exponent, okay? The base times itself. All right, so the exponent's 2, that means 1 times 1. 1 times 1 equals 1. For those of you who are thinking that 1 squared equals 2, you're wrong. But remember, literally, 1 times 1 gives me 1, so 1 minus 1 would give me the answer of y equals 0. Okay, pretty straightforward. So let's go a little farther with this. Plug the 2 into that spot. So 2 squared, that's 2 times 2, would give me 4. All right, so then I would have 4 minus 1. All right, and then y would equal 3. You with me so far? Let's do one more piece of this. Okay, let's make 3. 3 goes the exponent there. So 3 squared, okay, that's going to be 9, because 3 times 3. And 9 minus 1 gives me 8. Okay. Let's do the last one too, because I want to point something out to some of you. So 4 squared is 16, minus 1 is 15. Remember how on some of those other ones you can sit there and you could do an equation where you look at the pattern and you might see it increasing by 2, and it might go 2, 4, 6, 8. Well, this pattern now, it goes 0, 3, 8, 15. That's not something that you can just easily predict right off the top, because the function rule has an exponent involved in it, and then you subtract it. Two-step equation, okay? 2 operations, exponent, then subtraction. That gives me my value of y. Substitution, like all the first 9 problems we're looking at, just like this is actually what I say. Number 3, yeah, got my handy dandy iPad. Okay, now it's number 3. So I've already done number 1 and number 3 for you. That should model the first several problems for you without any problem. Now, the people who watch this video, hey, you get 2 for free. The people who don't watch this video, they got to puzzle out on their own. That's fine too. So let's take a look at the second half of the page. The second half of the page switches it up. And what it does down there is, instead of giving you the equation, it actually gives you the chart and wants you to make the equation. Now that gets a lot more difficult, in my opinion. All right, and this is why. Let's say I go with the basic one. This is one I use from class too, so we'll use this example here for you too. It's number 10. All right, number 10 says x here, y is here. Ooh, wow. What did I do with that? There we go. Let's make this a little better here. All right. X is always on the left, Y is always on the right, your XY coordinates, you know, the whole graphing sort of thing. So let's go from there. So I got 1, 2, 3, and 4, like usual. On the right-hand side, I'm going to have 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, for this one, I've chosen an equation where the pattern is not that difficult to see and recognize. However, it's not the pattern really that I'm concerned with. Instead, it's can I come up with the function rule, the equation? How do I turn 1 into 6, 2 into 7, 3 into 8, and 4 into 9? That's not hard. 1 plus 5 gives me 6, 2 plus 5 gives me 7, 3 plus 5 gives me 8, and 4 plus 5 gives me 9. So the pattern clearly is x plus 5. All right, so I have to write my answer, though, in this fashion. Y equals x plus 5. Now, what this means is the function rule is y equals x plus 5. Now, I can check it, and I know that I'm going to be right because when I, here's that word, substitute a number in for the variable and then calculate the equation, I can get my answer every time. So, if x is 1 plus 5, then y will equal 6. So it actually proves itself as you test it out. Because this is a single step equation and you're only adding 5, that's not hard to come up with. There's not really some, step 1, step 2, step 3 to solving this kind of problem. What there is, however, is you have to start thinking algebraically. Okay, what kind of algebraic expression where y equals something with x is true? They give you the chart, you've got to make up that equation that goes with it, the rule itself. And that is the trick on the second portion of the homework. Let's try one more. All right? We'll try number 11. Why? Because it's also a single step and it's really easy to understand, but it should get your ideas. Now, I do want to point out, if you get stuck on one of these, if you're spending 3, 4 minutes and 5 minutes on one, you can't figure it out, circle it, leave it behind, skip it, and go ahead to the next one. Because if for some odd reason you can't keep track of what you're doing, then you need to take a break, all right? Get some fresh air, come back with a fresh mind and look at it. Some of these will just hurt your brain, okay? So let's take a look at number 11, all right? I'm going to erase this stuff here, and we're going to work on number 11. Now, number 11 is much like number 10, except instead of using addition or subtraction, I'm probably using multiplication and division. That's my guess, but let's find out. Okay, number 11 says this. So here's number 11. I got my x and I have my y. I got my little chart here that goes underneath it. And then on the left-hand side, it gives me, again, the 1, 2, 3, and 4. On the right-hand side, the numbers go 4, 8, 12, and 16. 4, 8, 12, and 16. Some of you are looking at that, and you're going, whoa, guess what? I know my multiplication facts. I can totally spot that. Others of you are still going, and multiplying by your fingers. Well, that's okay, but it will slow you down a bit. Anyway, we talked about that earlier on in the year. Mastery of the facts is key and stuff like this, because then you don't have to struggle to puzzle it out. But if we look at this, if x is 1, okay, and y is 4, how do I turn 1 into 4? Well, Mr. 1, I can add 3. Okay, so you add 3. But if I try that rule on the next one, 2 plus 3 doesn't equal 8, so it can't be plus 3 for my rule. That's not going to work. So I give you a hint and said it's probably multiplication. All right, so 1 times 4 gives me 4. Boom. 4 times 2 gives me 8, 4 times 3 gives me 12, and 4 times 4 gives me 16. If you know those multiplication facts, you don't have to worry about it, struggle with it. They just jump right out at you, okay? And not because I'm some old guy who's been doing this for 20-some years. It's just because you got the memorization of the multiplication facts down and the division facts. So we write it down like this. We still get y equals. My function rule is going to be x, all right, times what? Times 4. Now, there's a few ways I could write this. Usually, I would just write 4x. All right. Some of you might go 4 with the parentheses on the x also. That's fine too. As long as you're indicating that you know that you're multiplying x times 4, then you're going to get the correct answer. Y equals 4x. Yes, because 4 times 4 gives me 16, 3 times 4 gives me 12, 2 times 4 gives me 8, and 1 times 4 gives me 4. So clearly I have that. So I've given you a couple off the bottom section and a couple off the top section. This should help you to complete some of these, I hope. Now, if you do get stuck, look at the examples, watch the video a couple times, email me if you do and need some extra help. I look forward to seeing you guys next class. Take it easy.